Hi, so if you are here, I'm assuming that you have just come from part 1 and you actually click on the link to come to part 2, which is the actual video. This is what I wanted you guys to watch. So these are my 7 tips, or rather 7 steps towards curing or getting rid of your PMS. I hope this works for you, because this has been my experience with my own body, and yeah, enjoy. Just need to adjust the camera a little bit. Okay, there we go. So tip number 1, I want you to eat healthy. So tip number 1, you need to eat healthy. What do I mean by that? Number 1, you need to eat nutritious food, and you need to avoid processed, fatty, and your traditional Western diet. I could list a whole lot of reasons why you must avoid the typical Western diet, but at the top of my mind, at the top of my head right now, the most important reason why you must avoid your sugar, fatty, etc. is because I read the study that where they took a group of women and they were just studying their diet and looking at the correlation between what you eat and your experience or the occurrence of PMS, cramps, things like that, all those symptoms. And they found that participants who actually partook in your typical Western diet experienced more symptoms than their healthy counterparts. By healthy counterparts, well, it was mostly their vegetarian counterparts. They actually found that number 1, not only do vegan and vegetarian women excrete more estrogen than their vegetarian, than their meat eater counterparts and whatever. And here I'm talking about vegetarian women who eat healthy, like vegan women who actually eat healthy. I'm not talking about someone who junks but they call themselves vegetarian or something. Yeah, I hope you understand that point. So they actually found that they excrete more estrogen, and they have more regular bowel movements than their meat eater counterparts, and they found that to be a huge factor in the occurrence of PMS. So I'm sure you're probably wondering, what am I talking about? What's this estrogen? If you watch the first video, I went into detail a little bit about that. And basically what I want you guys to see is that people who eat meat or who eat too much processed foods, they take in a lot of estrogen producing foods, because remember, meat has a lot of estrogen, and on top of the fact that your body is producing, then they get more levels in their bloodstream. So they actually found that those women have more estrogen in their system, and they're not even excreting a lot of it because they don't have regular bowel movements. So this was found to be a very important factor, because the estrogen that actually it stays in the blood system and it actually stays in the system and gets reabsorbed into the blood. So eating too much processed foods and eating too much meat and all of that actually has that effect on your body. And if there's too much estrogen in your body, remember, if you watched the first video, we said that estrogen is dominant in the first phase of your cycle, and it's not supposed to be dominant in the second phase. So sometimes if you have too much, then there is a hormonal imbalance. In the second phase, when the estrogen is supposed to be less, but you have been consuming too much of it and it's getting reabsorbed into your system, you can see why there would be that imbalance. When your body now needs the progesterone, then there's this other excess estrogen and it doesn't know what to do with it. If this occurs, then it causes a lot of problems. So that's why making sure that you have the regular bowel movements and you're not taking in too much estrogen producing foods will go a long way towards balancing your hormones out during your cycle and even before your cycle. Right. That's the first thing. Avoid all those foods. That was the second thing, because the first thing was for you to eat nutritious food. I'm not gonna go into detail as to what entails nutritious foods. Maybe we can do another video on which foods are good and which are not, but for now, just try to eat healthy as much as possible. So I made a whole lot of notes. The next thing is you need to have consistent eating times. So eating properly is not enough. So you need to have proper eating times, and snacking in between meals is actually also not good for you. So I just want to explain this to you in okay, so there's a hormone called I think I should just get into this. There's a hormone called cortisol. Cortisol is a stress regulator, right? It's a stress regulator, and it gets produced by your body. Sometimes they found that it gets produced by your body during the second phase of the cycle, and it takes some of the energy that should have been used to make, remember we said progesterone is supposed to be dominant in the second phase of your cycle. So now what happens is some of the energy, nutrients, I don't know what, that was supposed to be used to make progesterone, it gets redirected to make cortisol, which is a stress regulator. It regulates your hormonal system, and the biggest stressor of your hormonal system is actually erratic sugar blood levels. Like by that it means when the levels of sugar in your body are up and down, when they are not consistent, and the level of sugar levels, the level of sugar levels. So the sugar levels in your body are determined by what you eat and when you eat it. So if you're not regular in your eating, and if you're not eating foods that take along, foods that release energy properly, gradually in your system, foods that just spike up your sugar levels and then bring it back down. Like if you eat too much processed foods, where you eat a donut and you get an instant high, and then a couple of hours later, or rather an hour later, you are back down again. That is what it's meant by erratic sugar levels. So if your sugar levels are erratic, then your body needs to now produce that cortisol, because the stress levels are now becoming hectic already during your cycle. In the first, whatever, already your body is dealing with a lot. So if on top of that it needs to deal with your erratic sugar levels, it needs to produce the cortisol, and which takes away from what it should be doing at the time, which is producing the progesterone, which should be maintaining your lining, like I mentioned in the first video. That in itself creates a hormonal imbalance, which will create some of the symptoms like mood swings, a lot of, the symptoms. If you had avoided irregular eating and eating proper foods that release energy gradually, properly, then excuse me, my battery was running low. So you would have avoided all of that, and you would have had a proper cycle. The other thing is okay, so we're still on tip number 1, we're still on eating. So there's a whole lot about eating. So I've mentioned what you need to eat, what you need to avoid, when to eat, consistent eating times, and snacking. So that's what we have on food. I hope you guys got all of that. Tip number 2 is to keep hydrated. So the important thing about keeping hydrated is the focus is on making sure that you have regular bowel movements. So water assists your body to actually excrete excess, baggage in there that needs to come out. So drinking lots and lots of water helps you have regular bowel movements. You should at least have 3 movements on a daily basis. So you can see already that preparing for your cycle, it's not only about those 3 or 5 days, it's about the entire month. So make sure that throughout the month your movements are regular, and by regular I mean at least 3 times a day, or at least as much as the number of times you eat. That's how many times you should actually go to the bathroom. That's the healthy number. So make sure that you have regular intervals, and water assists with that. You might have noticed how sometimes on the first day or on the second day, some people say when they have their period, they automatically, their body, their period acts as a laxative. I don't know if you've heard that before, but I've heard some ladies say that they don't need to use laxative because it automatically happens. But you'll find that a lot of women who have that, who experience that, in actual fact were constipated and they were not even aware. Remember, constipation is not just about you struggle when you go to the toilet or you can't at all. It might even be you go, but you're not even aware that you should be going more often than you actually are. So a lot of women will say that, no, I go during my period a lot of times, but that's actually not supposed to happen. Well, it happens, but it's not supposed to be like a huge, it's not supposed to happen. I don't know how to explain it, but yeah, I think you get the point. The point is, make sure that you are having regular bowel movements before your period. Yeah. And then the next tip number 3 is okay, so my next tip for you is to keep warm. So I read somewhere that when during your cycle, during your actual period, that these are muscles, right? And they actually one of the reasons why you get cramps is because the muscles are stiff, and in order to loosen them up, it's nice to keep them nice and warm. This relaxes them, and it makes them less stiff, and then as a result you'll have less discomfort. I myself actually discovered this I think about a year or 2 ago. So and it's helped me a lot. So keeping warm, in line with keeping warm, it's best to keep warm in the sunlight. But if you don't live in a country where you can get sunlight like I do, then you can get a nice warm water bottle, or you can just make sure that the extremities are warm. What do I mean by that? Make sure that your feet and your hands are warm at all times. So it doesn't matter if it's summer or if it's spring, as long as it's just before your period and during your actual period, during your actual menstrual 3 or 5 days, make sure that you keep the extremities warm. Don't wear sandals. Make sure that you wear socks and nice warm shoes, and if you can wear gloves. If not, then have a nice warm water bottle where you can keep your hands nice and warm, because that actually affects even you cramping up. So make sure that you keep warm. That's tip number 3. Tip number 4 is you need to rest. If you can, try as much as possible to not work hard during that time of the month. I know that a lot of women are told to exercise, to keep busy. If that works for you, okay. However, what I've found, even with the research that I've done, is athletes, women who are even athletes during that time of the month, they experience more cramps when they try to exercise, or when they try to keep active than if they don't. So what I've learned is that your period is almost like nature's way of giving your body some much needed rest. So if you can even take a day off work, that would be great. A friend of mine and I were actually arguing that women should get that day off, the first day of the period. Someone was saying no, they should get the entire 3 or 4 days or whatever every month. But I think that first day you really need to rest. I myself, from my own experience, have learned that if I read a good book, or watch a chick flick, which I shouldn't, or something that just relaxes me and lets me rest, it's the best thing that you can do for yourself. Because remember, you are relaxing your muscles, relax your mind, you are in a stress-free environment. Resting is not only about sleeping. You can just be reading a good book. So try to give yourself that time. So during the time of the month, try by all means to be in a stress-free environment. If you have to be at work, maybe just plug in your earphones and listen to your music, something that just relaxes you and rests you. So resting is just all about staying away from stress, not necessarily about sleeping. So I sleep or I'll watch a book. Okay, no, I won't watch a book. I'll watch a movie or I'll read a book. Yeah. So yeah, I think you get the point. And we all know that if you don't sleep properly, this is now before your period, if you don't sleep properly, you're causing your body a lot of stress. So a lack of sleep equates to high stress levels, and you know, high stress levels, and you want to be stress-free by the time your period starts. So you don't want to say you're resting only during your period. You should be getting at least 7 to 8 hours of sleep every single day, even before, even during the month. So this is held all around. So the sleeping part is very important even before your actual period starts. So that will be our tip number 4. Right, tip number 5. Keep active. So I know this sounds like a bit of a contradiction, since I just told you not to exercise, but now I'm telling you to keep active. So keeping active, this is again before your period, it's not during your period. So keep active as much as possible. And I deliberately said keep active because I want to run away from the idea that you need to go to the gym for an hour, or you need to, you know, run a marathon for an hour or anything like that. Just keeping active, you'll be amazed at the benefits of just mere walking. So I myself, every single day, well, I try. Lately with the work stresses and everything, I haven't been able to, but I try by all means to take a walk like for 15 minutes every other hour or so when I'm at work. So I don't want to be sitting the entire day. You know, with our sedentary lifestyle, it's very difficult for us to keep active. So by keep active, that's what I mean. I mean after work, before you start dinner, take a walk, or after dinner, instead of, you know, watching TV or doing whatever it is that you do, take a walk with the kids, or take a walk with your, you know, just take the dog out or the kids or whatever the case may be, but try by all means to keep active. Even at the house, don't always be sitting down. Keep active. And if you have to exercise, it doesn't have to be for an hour, as long as it's consistent and as long as it's regular and consistent, same thing. So as long as you are getting that 15 minutes of exercise, or getting that, whatever the case may be, make sure that you keep active. This is before, not during your period. During your period, please, by all means, sleep if you have to. So that's our tip number 5. What I also want to point out is exercise is important for our bowel movements. So this is the main reason why it's important for you to exercise, to make sure that those bowel movements are actually regular, like they're supposed to be. Tip number 6. Avoid tight fitting clothes. This is a bit of a funny one, because it's a funny story. I was at church this one time, and it was during the time of the month, and I was feeling a bit, you know, I was feeling a discomfort here around this area, and this other girl said to me, she didn't know you know, that it was that time of the month, but she just I said to her, no, I'm just feeling, you know, like it's just not nice. I didn't tell her what's happening, and then she said to me, no, your skirt is too tight around the middle, loosen it up a bit and maybe you might feel better. I don't know if she knew that it's because of that time of the month, but after I loosened my skirt, actually it was what's this thing, this material, I can't remember now the material, but it's a very tight fitting thing, so I had to actually pull it to loosen it up a bit. And after I did that, the relief that I felt, it was just it was a lifesaver, and the discomfort immediately vanished. And I found that goes together with obviously the muscles around this area or whatever the case may be. But I used to even wear tights underneath my dresses and stuff during my period, and I don't anymore, because I've actually found that they make me uncomfortable. When I'm not wearing them, I don't have that discomfort. I don't have that pain here or there. So try it, and maybe it will work for you as well. But yeah, avoid tight fitting clothes around this area, especially here. Just avoid them. And also in your thighs as well, to help with the blood circulation. So if you wear clothes that are too tight, it actually prevents proper blood circulation during that time of the month. So make sure that your clothes are as loose as possible. If you have to wear something underneath, if you don't feel safe, try to find loose fitting tights that will still afford you that protection that you need. So tip which is number 7, last but not least, I consider this the most important tip, guys. Like, if you haven't heard anything that I've said, I know I ramble a lot. Is it ramble or blabble or something? But I do that a lot. I talk and talk and talk, and sometimes I don't get to the point, sometimes I do, but this is the point. Like, tip number 7 is the most important thing. Give into your cravings, guys. Like, seriously, give into them cravings. Like, listen to your body. Anything it wants, give it. If your body wants to sleep, sleep. If your body wants chocolate, it needs chocolate. If your body wants salt, that's what it wants. If it wants, like, I cannot stress this enough. So this is what I've learned. Nature is a beautiful thing, and it talks to you. If you know, and you need to know how to listen to it. You need to understand what it's saying to you. So I'll make you an example. If I know I used to get, well, I still do actually, just before, like a day or so before my period, I actually get the most intense cravings for like salty and oily foods. Like, I always crave oil and salt. And what I found is that is actually my body's way of telling me that I need potassium and I need extra iron in my system. And I never got that. I never actually like went and sat down and tried to understand the science. I simply when I got those cravings, like, I would try and eat all this junk, eat the sugar, the salt, eat the fat, but then the craving was still there. And then this one time, I actually made myself beetroot juice, and I found that, hey, the craving is not there anymore when I made beetroot juice, or when I eat spinach. Or when I ate spinach. When I ate spinach, the craving actually went away. So, like, it was like a huge revelation. Like, it was a big revelation for me, guys. Your body will tell you what it needs during the time. It will tell you what it wants. And like I said, this has been my experience. So all these other tips before tip number 7 were all about, this is based on what I found with my own body. Your body might be different, so you need to listen to your body. Like, I cannot stress that enough. If your body's craving chocolate, there's a specific nutrient that it's asking for. You don't necessarily need to go and eat the chocolate. You need to find out what's missing. What have I not been eating? What's that specific? And this is going to be trial and error, because like I said, we're not nutritionists or anything. You are going to have to trial and error, guys. Yeah, trial and error. This actually reminds me of something my grandmother once told me about eating. She once told me that sometimes when you're hungry and like you eat pap and milk or whatever whatever, you'll eat bread and tea or whatever you'll eat, and then you'll still, maybe after an hour or two, you'll have that nagging feeling. You'll go to, you know what, I'm still hungry, and then you'll go and eat the bread again, and then 2 hours later you're still hungry, then you eat the bread again. Then she said to me, do you think that this person is actually eating? Like, they've been eating bread, but are they actually eating? And the answer she gave me was, no, the person is actually not eating. They're not eating because they're simply filling up their stomach, they're filling up their stomach so that it's just full, but they're not actually feeding the body, because the body is telling me that there's specific nutrients that I need to perform specific functions, and you're not giving me those nutrients. You are giving me the same thing over and over and over, and as a result, I'll keep telling you that I'm hungry because I have not been fed. It's the same thing with your cravings. They're telling you that I'm hungry for something, and you need to find out what it is so that you can feed it to me, because the reality is, if you are going to eat the junk food, a couple of hours later, the craving is still there. It's gonna come in a different format, and you'll eat more junk, and that's why you find weight gain and discomfort and water retention. All of these things happen because you haven't been listening to your body, or you are misinterpreting what it needs. So listen to your body, and I want to spend a lot of time on this point, because listening to your body is not only about your cravings, it's also about your rest requirements. It's also about your exercise needs. It's also about your mindset. There's a lot of things that go into it. So sometimes you'll find that you just, are emotional, you are, or you feel like you have exciting, like sometimes you come up with the most brilliant ideas during that time or just before, and you need to give in to that. You need to, I actually found that I am the most productive just before and during my period. That's when I'm most productive. I come up with, brilliant ideas. Not that I ever actually act on them, but I come up with really good concepts, and I make plans. I do so much. I'm so productive with my mind during that time. I find that my body just doesn't want to work. It just doesn't. But my mind is so sharp. It's so it's very sharp. And I actually read an article the other day that talked about this. It talked about how I can't remember now whether it said during just after your period or before, that's when you are most creative or something of that nature. And I never knew that before. I saw it in myself, but I didn't even know that it was a scientific thing. Yeah, look it up. You'll find it. Look it up. You'll find what I'm talking about. So yeah, listen to your body, guys. If I haven't taught you anything in this entire 20 minutes, I know I talk a lot. The most important thing is to learn your own body, study it, and listen to what it's saying within the boundaries of proper healthy living and obeying all the laws of health. Yeah. So yeah, guys, so those are my 7 tips or 7 habits that you can adopt to actually help you relieve the symptoms of PMS, or to completely get rid of them. Magic. Trust me, these are going to work for you. Well, I hope they work for me. I hope they work for you as well. Let me know if I know this was too long, but it just had to be. There was just too much to be said. I had to say all of it. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoy it. Talk to me on the comment section below. I would really love to hear what you guys have to say about this video. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you on the next video.